Debbie Hamilton from Simply Special Crafts and simplyspecialcrafts.com. I wanted to make a video today to demonstrate to you how we made the cards that I'm going to be showing you using what we call Kit 5. And Kit 5 includes border and corner stickers as well as 3D pushouts to make some beautiful cards. Our purpose today is not so much to demonstrate how to make these, but more to show you the examples and give you some good instructions for making your own using our kit. So let's start by just taking a look at the contents of the kit, what you'll get. The biggest item in your kit is this 3D push-ups book. It's pretty amazing because these are all scissor free. In other words, you can just, they call them push outs. We might call them punch outs, but you can just push the designs free of the backing paper and stack them up with some foam squares, and you have your 3D toppers ready to go. This has 8 pages of 3D toppers and a variety of themes. We'll see these themes in more detail as we look at the cards. And in addition to that, this book includes a number of background papers designed to coordinate with the push-outs. So here's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 push-out sheets as well. In addition, your card kit will include a sheet of white cardstock in case you want to layer some things. It actually has 2 sheets of white cardstock. We included 3 absolutely beautiful plush velveteen sheets. They're soft and gorgeous and wonderful for card making. So we've included 3 of those in your kit. Your kit will also include 4 peel sticker sheets in a variety of different brands. Some are Starform, some are Find It Trading. So you get 2 sheets of corners, 1 sheet of Merry Christmas and Season's Greetings, and you get 1 sheet of assorted borders in a variety of styles, which will be wonderful. We're also giving you a punched out foil sheet that has more greetings. We're including a pack of foam squares for the assembly of your 3Ds. When you assemble your 3Ds, you're simply popping out all the coordinating pieces, and then you'll build your 3D topper starting at the largest piece and building to the smallest piece in each set. And these little foam squares are great for doing that. You'll get 2 5x7 cards and envelopes and a pack of 10 US A6 cards and envelopes. So this is a really rich kit. You have all of the makings here to make 12 cards. And in addition to the 12 cards, you will have enough of the toppers and background papers to make an additional 12 cards if you add your own cards and envelopes. I will say that I also used 3 more sheets of stickers in making the additional 12 cards. So I've created a supplemental kit that's available if you want it, or you can just use things out of your own stash. But our supplemental kit is $10, and it includes 3 more sheets of stickers, and I'll show you which ones those are as we look at our examples. So you'll have 3 more sheets of stickers and a total of 13 European A6 cards. So that'll actually give you a 25 card lengths in total. but I didn't use one of the 5x7s. I really kind of enjoyed the smaller size for these. So let's just get started and take a look at a few of the card samples. We're going to start with the penguins. Come on in really close, please. And I'll measure these and tell you which card I used. So this one, get my ruler turned around to inches instead of centimeters. This card is a European A6. Now, European A6s are an odd measurement to us, but remember that the Europeans measure in centimeters and we measure in inches. So when you convert one to the other, sometimes you end up with some odd measurements. One of our sheets of photocopy paper is 8.5 by 11. The standard that's used in the UK that's called an A4, and it's actually in our dimensions. It's 8.25 by 11.75. If you take one of our sheets of photocopy paper and you fold it you fold it twice, so you get a quarter fold on it, then you get the card size we call A2, or 4.25 by 5.5. If you take a piece of European A4 paper and you quarter fold it, you get this card size, which is called a European A6, and the actual dimensions of this card are 4 1/8 by 5 7/8. Now, why would I want to use a card of this size? Because the background papers and things that we're using are all A4. They're European sizes. And that means that I can actually get 4 cards out of each set. Where if I use the little bit larger American standard, I can't get as many cards out of each sheet. So that's why I use these. So that's way more math and way more numbers than you probably wanted to hear, but I thought I'd explain why I do that. So I took my 4 1/8 by 5 7/8 inch piece of paper, and I cut a piece of my topper paper, the swirly blue topper paper, that was 1/4 of an inch smaller widthwise and lengthwise, which means that I cut my paper to be 3 7/8 inches wide by 5 5 inches long. Then I attached that to my white card, and I'm using the white card to be my outer border on my card. It looks very pretty with the blue papers. I took 4 of my bell corners and I put them on the blue paper. And then I ran some of my stickers. Now, you don't have to use exactly the same border stickers I did. I happen to have used the scallops, but you could use any of the border stickers you wanted to. I used the scallops between the bells, and I put the scallop inward so that the bumpy side of the scallop is towards the inside of the card. Then I cut a piece of paper out of my white cardstock that was 2 1/4 inches wide by 3 3/4 inches long. I applied my smaller corners. You have a whole sheet of these small corners as well on all 4 corners. And once again, I used the scallopy borders with the bumpies facing inward. I put that down to my blue background paper and added a Merry Christmas underneath that. I put on my 3D topper, and then on my Merry Christmas, I used some little border stickers to surround my Merry Christmas greeting. This came off the white punch-out sheet. And that's card number 1, the first of our penguin cards. Next penguin card is, this is actually one of our larger cards. This one is the US, the one that's called in our card pack, the US A6. And this one is 4.5 by 6 1/4 inches. I completely covered this with this kind of crackling ice sort of background, the blue-gray crackling ice sort of background. I put my border stickers, or I put my four corners on. I used the bells once again, and I used just a straight thin line sticker between the bells.
I can't see the card.
It probably would help if I take them out of cellophane.
Mhm.
I will from here. Then I cut myself a piece of this blue paper that's 3 1/4 by 3 1/4. And this is the one with the little snowflakes on it. Just a hint, when you're cutting your background paper, don't cut all the way through your paper each direction. You want to just cut out what you need. So in other words, instead of running your trimmer at 3 1/4 all the way down your paper, just run your trimmer down to 3 1/4, then change the direction and run it to 3 1/4 again. The reason for that is that we are going to be using every little bit of our background paper to get 24 cards out of this kit. So if you overcut and you cut large pieces down in advance, that really limits how we can use that paper. Where if you cut just exactly what you need, you'll have larger remnants from which to get your other cards. So on this penguin card, as I said, I ran my borders around, and this time I just took off of the Merry Christmas sheet. There's 2 stars there. I took the 2 stars and I took this Merry Christmas foil topper greeting and put it under my penguins, and I think that turned out really cute. Oh, and I did take a thin line border and surrounded this topper as well, the blue. I surrounded that. Stuck my penguin in the middle. I'm going to open these as we go so you're not battling to see through the cellophane. I tend to put all of my dimensional cards that have the 3D buildups into card envelopes as soon as possible, because otherwise they get hung up on each other in your card box. Just turn that AC on, would you please, honey? Okay, this card is going to be a European A6. No, it's not. It's the same size as the last one. This is 4 1/2 by 6 1/4. So in order to leave a border around, I cut this to 4 1/4. Yeah, I cut this to 4 1/4 by 6, and then applied that the cracked ice on top of my white. This time I put on the smaller border stickers, or the corner stickers. See those there? I used the little tiny corners and put those in all 4 corners. And this time I used one of the ones that kind of looks like a curb chain, and I ran those from corner to corner. Then I took one of my straight line stickers and I ran it from the point in the middle of the small corner diagonally to the point in the middle of the other small corner. And I actually went from here to here and then from here to here, creating an X. I had a piece of my background paper. This is kind of the cloudy, kind of dusky blue paper. And this is 2 1/2 inches by 3 inches. I glued that down over my X. I added my dimensional sticker, and then I added Season's Greetings above and below. So that's our first set of cards. That was the penguins. 1 down and 7 to go. Because I'm going to show you all 24 cards. Even though your kit, as it comes to you, will make 24, you can choose which ones you want to make, or you can get the supplemental kit and make all 24. Okay, the next topper set we're going to look at is the deer. Deer are beautiful. I love deer. Those of you who are and follow my classes, and I'm sure most of the people watching will be those who do know that I love deer. Okay, so this time I did not cover my background. I simply used the white as my background. I put on 4 of my little corners. And then I used the stickers that kind of look like mini diamonds. And I used the outside lane of my sticker. And I went from the outside point to the outside point. Then I came in one more of the points on the sticker, and I came from the first point in to the first point in on the next sticker. So there's actually a total of 5 bumps in each corner sticker. If you come in close, you can see that. Let's show them that. There's a total of 5 bumpies. There we go. That's a great picture of the corner right there. And you can see I just started with the outside one and then the next one over. And I ran my lines from there. Thank you, honey. That was a good picture. Okay, I cut a piece of background paper. That was 3 1/4 by 3 1/2. And then I took a small piece, a very small piece of my suede paper, and it is the width of my paper, which was 3 1/4 by 3/4 of an inch wide. But look how pretty that makes that. I just put it across my paper and then put my deer on top of that. I added my Merry Christmas above and below, and it looks beautiful. It's already descended. Okay, first one of our deer. Next, we have 2 deer. Looks like it could be a mom and a yearling. This time my card base is 4 1/2 by 6 1/4. This time I'm letting the white be the base of my card. But this time I cut a piece that is 4 1/2 by 3, and I ran that across my card. It probably should be centered. Mine's a little below center, so you might bring yours just a little higher than mine is. And I use that crackly ice paper. And then across the top of each of the punch-out sheets, there's a little border section. I cut that border off and use that across here. So that's going to be 4 1/2 wide by the width of whatever you cut the border to be. And I believe I cut mine to be about 1 1/2 inches. Yes, it's 1 1/2 inches wide. So I put down my crackle paper, I put down my border, I put my topper on top of that. I put 4 of my bell corners in the corners. I used one of the heavy curb link chains to run down the sides and across the bottom. And because I could tell that I was going to run short on stickers, I didn't run the heavy part clear up to the bow on the bells. I just ran it to the very end of the bow stickers so I could save just a little material. But again, as you're doing this one, when you put this piece on, I recommend you go just a little higher, maybe 3/8 of an inch or so higher. And then you'll get that actually better balance than I got mine. Next, we have one more. This time it's the stag. And I've used a little different border and corner design on this one. Once again, I'm using my white as my base of my card. This is a 4.5 by 6.25 card. I cut my background paper to be 4.25 by 6, and I glued that down. Well, actually, it'd even be better if you wouldn't glue it quite yet. Go ahead and put this strip on first. I cut a piece of my blue velveteen paper that's 2 by 6 inches, and I glued that on top of the snowflakes. Then put the whole thing down, because you can just trim it evenly and it's easier. You can kind of skip a step if you wait to glue that down until you have cut your blue velveteen and put it on there. I have 4 corner stickers. They're all bells. And this time I decided, instead of running my borders around the outside, I'm running my borders about 1/4 of an inch from the side of the blue velveteen and just running them straight up, and see how that gives that a nice shine right in the middle. I added my Merry Christmas tag right under my stag, and that was done. My thinking is that as you're making these cards, you can stop your video and back up, look at the design and then back up and kind of follow the pattern if you want to follow the pattern. Sometimes you just want to go off on your own, and I think that's wonderful too. Okay, next we have polar bears. Everybody that's looked at these card designs says they love the polar bears. And the polar bears had their own background sheet. I'm using a piece of paper or a card that's 4.5 by 6.25. So that's that USA 6. I covered my card face in my polar bear paper right out of the paper pack. I put bell corners on all 4 corners, and I put thin borders between the corners. This time, don't put those borders on the sides until you put this one on. I cut a piece of my blue velveteen paper that is 2.5 inches wide, so it's 4.25 by 4.5 by 2.5, 4.5 by 2.5. And then I took a piece of my snow paper from my background paper that's 1.25 inches by 4.5, glue the snowflake in the middle of the velveteen paper, put that down, and then lay your border over the top of that. Added a season's greetings, and aren't those baby polar bears cute? Especially with that background of the polar bear paper. I just think that's so sweet. Okay. Next, we have a mama polar bear and 2 cubs. This card is 4.5 by 6.25. So this time I cut my polar bear paper. I'm making my card to be horizontal. So I cut my polar bear paper to be 6 inches wide by 4.25 inches tall. I used a piece of my white cardstock out of my kit, and I cut the white cardstock to be 3 by 4 and 3/4. This is that kind of smoky blue background again. I cut that piece to be 2.5 by 4.25. I put tiny corners on all 4 corners of this one, and then I used a curb link chain kind of border surrounding that, and I added my Happy Christmas up and to the right. in order to allow room for that, position your polar bear in cubs a little bit left of center to make room for your tag. Next, I have our last polar bear. I just love this one. This one is Mama and the Baby Polar Bear. Ooh, that helped. Okay, this time I covered my card. Let's see what the size of the card is. It's 4.5 by 6.25. I covered it completely with the snowflake paper from our paper pack. This time I used my velvet on the inside. Let's talk about the borders and corners first, though, because in this case I put them down next. I put my bell corners on all 4 corners. This is kind of just a little wavy line sticker. The wavy line sticker all the way around corner to corner. And then I took some pieces of that, and you can run them all the way across, or if you're running short on materials, these really only have to go just past the edge of the paper. See that? If it doesn't show, it doesn't have to be there. So I used short pieces of sticker coming in from the side, and I'm going to say those are about 1 inch long each. So I cut 4 1-inch pieces, 8 1-inch pieces, and I ran those in from the side. And then I put my velveteen paper over the top. I cut my velveteen large enough to accommodate both the topper and my season's greetings on this one. So this one is 3.25 by 4.5. That's the size of the velveteen paper, and I put my season's greetings under the polar bears hugging. Isn't that just the cutest card? I love these polar bear designs. Okay. With this next set, we'll be halfway through. Let's look and see what else we have. Looking for a slightly different design. Now let's just go with what I have here. Okay. I ran out of my Christmas bell corners, and I asked Brittany for another corner. Well, what she grabbed was the holly stickers, and actually I think they turned out really neat. So the holly stickers are what are in the supplemental kit, and it's just a little heavier border, which I think works out really well because it's really pretty. I used this little swirly, and that's off the Merry Christmas and Seasons greeting sheet. And I used 4 of my little stickers, my little corners, and I put them together to make a snowflake. So this time, my card blank is, I believe this is a European A6. Yes, it is. This is a European A6, which is 4.25 by 5 7/8. So I cut this, I'm going to call it paneling kind of paper. This paneling pattern, I cut it to 3 7/8 by 5 5/8, and then I cut my velveteen to be 3 1/8 by 4 1/4. I put my little topper at the top. I put my little swirly off of my Merry Christmas sheet, and I put 4 corners there, making a snowflake. And then this is off of my push out foiled topper sheet that's in my kit. So that's the first of our owls. The next owl So one of the things I'd like for you to notice as you go through here is how I'm combining the different background papers to come up with my designs. I'm trying to use more than one to really complement the card designs. This one's going to be 4¼ by, yes, this is a European A6, 4¼ by 5 7/8. I covered this one with my snowflake paper. I cut a little piece of that kind of cracked ice pattern that was 3 by 3. I put my little corners on the 3 by 3 and put my borders around the 3 by 3. And I used kind of a blocky Merry Christmas off of my Season's Greetings and Merry Christmas sheet. This next card will make 12. And by the time that I reached number 12, I was running out of borders and I was out of my bell stickers. Now we're not looking at them in the same order I made them, so you'll still see some of those as we go through. But at the point that I finished this at number 12, I was running out of a few of my materials. That's the supplemental kit. 12, you'll have plenty, just ample supplies to do 12 cards. If you want to make the 24, the supplemental kit is $10, and I'll ask Bryce to link that. Hopefully we can link it. I'm not positive we can. If we can, we'll link it under this video. If we can't, then just look in, you don't need to put it in the chat comment. I mean, in the comment box under the video or the description. We can put it in the description box. So this card is made on, it's the only one that's made on a 5 by 7. And that means that in order to leave a white border all the way around, I cut my snowflake paper to be 4 3/4 by 6 3/4. I used kind of that dusky blue paper, and that strip is 6 3/4 by 2 and almost 2.5. And then I used the owl border off the top of the sheet. And that's going to be as white as you cut it. I think most of those I cut to be 1.5 inches or thereabouts. I use straight line stickers above or right at the edges of the owl border. I put 4 of those little corners together to make a snowflake here for the With Love. And then I put 4 snowflakes on the 4 corners of the card. Isn't that cool how those corners can go together and make a snowflake? That's kind of fun. So that's our only 5 by 7 card. Even though you have 2 in your kit, I only used one 5 by 7. Okay. Next, we have another kind of whimsical bird. This time, I cut out the borders. I kind of fussy cut them. So let's take a look at that. A lot of the cards in this kit were in blue tones. It's very unusual for the Find and Trading push-out selections. They don't usually have a lot of designs in the same color theme, but this time there were a lot of blues. But this time I fussy cut the rose border that were with the birds. I covered my entire card in that kind of dusky blue. I didn't tell you what size cards this is. This is a European A6, 4 1/8 by 5 7/8. I cut a small piece of my cracked ice that's 3 by 3, and I turned it on corner and made that into a diamond. I ran stickers around the diamond. I put my borders at the bottom and at the top, and then I put my wishing you a happy Christmas off of my foiled sentiment sheet and put it right in the middle of the bottom, and I think that turns out really cute. This particular topper, one reason I chose to do that is it was quite a bit taller than most of the toppers are, so it looked really good putting it on the diamond. Next up, I love this one. Sometimes you just have to do some really creative things to keep yourself interested and motivated as you're working along. This card is European A6, 4 1/8 by 5 7/8. So I cut my green dotted paper. I love that green dotted paper, by the way, and I especially love it with the velveteen we put in the back. I cut my green dotted paper to be 3 7/8 by 5 5/8. Then I cut a section of this velveteen to be just a little over 2.5. I would actually go with that though, because this topper stretches from side to side. So you might even make that 2 3/4. 2 3/4 by 3 3/4. And this time I just started putting my stripes on diagonally. Now I will tell you that on some of these stripes don't go all the way through, because that's taking a lot of material to run those stripes diagonally over and over and over again. So where it didn't show, there isn't a piece under here, for example, and there isn't a piece under here. I just clipped it and held my topper up there to see how long that needed to be. But I kind of cheated a little underneath there. That way I could use the smaller pieces on the two sides and not use as many strips doing that diagonal. But doesn't that diagonal look beautiful? Then we've got our Season's Greetings above and below. I love this card. It's probably one of my favorites out of this whole set. I love the way it turned out. You got that whimsical little character and then such an elegant treatment for him. It's just kind of a fun design. Here's another blue. And we've done something even different here with the borders and corners. This time, my card's a little bigger, I think. Yep, this one's 4 1/2 by 6 1/4. So I cut my, this is that dusky blue again. I cut my dusky blue paper to be 4 1/4 by 6, and I laid that down. And then I cut a layer of my blue velvet to be it's actually 3 3/8. You could go 3 1/2 by 4 1/4. And this time I put down my bell corners. This is before I ran out, obviously. Put my bell corners on all 4 corners. And then I put small corners on all 4 corners of my velvet. And I ran borders around there. And then I ran a border about 1/4 of an inch on either side up from the velveteen. And I ran borders from corner to corner on my bells. So I got a lot happening with border stickers there, but you see how shiny and beautiful it ends up being because we use those corners and borders. Okay. We're moving into, I'm going to show you the first set of flowers. There's 2 sets of flowers in this set. And then there's some birds. So I'm going to grab the burgundy flowers first. This is one I made after Brittany brought me the holly. Oops, I said I would open these. Let me get this open. So I'm using that green dot paper again. I just love the way that green dot paper plays with the velveteen. That's beautiful. And then throw that burgundy in there, and it's just gorgeous. Okay, this is going to be a European A6, and I completely covered it with the green dot paper. Then I ran a holly border all the way around the outside. I cut a piece of my green velvet to be 2 3/4 by 3 3/4. And this time I did this a little bit differently. Notice that this time I put the borders on and I moved the borders in about 1/8 of an inch all the way around on the green. See that? I usually take them right to the edge. This time I came in about 1/8 of an inch, just for something different. And then I turned this on edge, leaving enough room to get my Mary up here in the corner and Christmas down here in the lower corner. I love this card. I love the balance. I love the colors. I love the burgundy and the sage together. Beautiful. Okay, I have 2 more burgundy flowers. This is one of Bryce's favorites, I believe. This time we're kind of using that Scandinavian sort of print that's in our paper selection. This is a European A6 card, 4 1/8 by 5 7/8. And I didn't do a lot of unusual things to it. I guess I did a couple things. I put my corners on and I ran corner stickers around. Oh, by the way, I cut this to 3 7/8 by 5 5/8. And then I ran my corners around it. Then this border is off of the top of the red flowers. And I put that across. And I think that plays really well with the Scandinavian papers. Not only do the flowers match here, but they match really well with the Scandinavian papers doing that. And I added a Merry Christmas to the middle. And this is right off my foiled sheet, so it already had the border around that. So that's one of Bryce's favorites. Next, I made another one out of the Scandinavian paper and my other burgundy flower. This is also a European A6, 4 1/8 by 5 7/8. I cut my cardstock 1/4 of an inch smaller at 3 7/8 by 5 5/8. Then I put down a border that is about 1 1/4 inches. Yep, 1 1/4 inches wide. That's off the border strip is off the top of my push-out sheet. I put that midway. Then I took some of the salmon color velvet paper and I cut that to be 2 3/4 by 3 3/4. I added small corners on all 4 corners and one of my tiny stickers running from corner to corner. And I think that salmon plays really well with the burgundy. I think that's pretty. Next, we're going to look at some birds. We're getting down towards the end here, so if you're getting tired of my sing-song voice, we don't have far to go. Here's my bird. This is a European A6, I'm certain of that. Yes, it's funny, after handling so many of the different size card blanks at this point, I can tell by the weight which one it is. I put my border corners on after cutting a green piece that was 3 7/8 by 5 5/8. and then adding the rose border from the top of my push-out sheet. I glued that onto my background, leaving a nice border, white border around. I took a piece of my blue velveteen, cut that to be 3 by 3, and put borders and tiny corners around that. Love the colors in this one. Just beautiful. It's easy to make beautiful things when you have beautiful materials to work with. And find it trading never disappoints in that regard. Okay, next. These look like lovebirds to me. I like them very much. This is a European A6. I used it on the horizontal. I cut my salmon color velveteen to be 3 7/8 tall by 5 5/8 inches wide. I used my scallops. This time my scallops go to the outside. And then the scallops I've run on the corners here, the scallops go to the inside on these top and bottom corners. And then on my Merry Christmas and Season's Greetings, there's a little ornament hanging down. I hung that on the topper. Have a wonderful Christmas. I like this one a lot. I hope by the time that you finish assembling your cards here, and I hope most of you will take advantage of the opportunity to make 24 cards, because I think by the time that you end up finishing all this work with the borders and corners, you're going to look at those corners and borders differently the next time. This is maybe my favorite from the whole set. This is European A6. Yep. I've cut my green sage paper, dotted sage paper, to be 3 7/8 inch wide and 5 5/8 inches long. I put corner stickers on all 4 corners. I added straight line borders between them. And then I built another square in the middle of my card using the small borders. And I made this, it's not really a square, it's a rectangle. I made this rectangle 1 3/4 inches wide by 2 3/4 inches long. And I just eyeballed it, really. I positioned my sticker, then used a ruler and kind of found the position for my second one and how far apart they were. And then used my ruler again just to kind of guide my eye and put my corners down here, and then ran straight border corner or straight line stickers between them. And I love the way that rectangle looks behind the bird in flight. I just think that's very, very striking. And then we've got our Merry Christmas above and below. Merry Christmas was another thing. Merry Christmas and Season's Greetings was another thing I ran out of. So that's another one of the things that's in your supplemental kit if you choose to buy it, is another sheet of the Merry Christmas. And the third sheet of stickers is another sheet of the thin border stickers in the assortment pack. So you'll have lots of choices for which designs to use. Here's another very creative use of our stickers. This one is a European A6. And this time I've used that paneling sort of background. I've made my paneling 1/4 inch smaller so that I can have my border be about 1/8 inch all the way around of the white. And then I set in my first line sticker almost 1/2 inch in from the edge. In fact, it is right at 1/2 inch. 1/2 inch in and pretty close to 1/2 inch down as well. And I made one long straight line sticker, one long straight line sticker, and I joined those together with my holly. That's from the supplemental kit. You can join these with any one of the other stickers if you don't buy the supplement. And then I dropped down a total of 1" from the top and came up 1" from the bottom and added a straight line sticker between those two outer stickers. And I put my Merry Christmas there. And then I used pieces. I did not use full stickers again. I used a full sticker here and a full sticker here, but none of these from here on over are full pieces. It's just little pieces that go far enough to be hid under the topper. But I spaced those. I actually, I didn't measure these. I followed the lines on the paneling to get those lines. But I think that looks really cool. Okay, we have 2 more to go here. Excuse me. Okay, and these are fairly simple in design. This is European A6. 4 1/8 by 5 7/8. This time I was getting down towards the end and I still had quite a bit of my velveteen left. So I cut my velveteen to be 3 7/8 inch wide and 5 5/8 inch long. And then I cut a piece of blue velveteen. So this is very velveteen rich, this one. And this card can either go this way or it could be looked at this way too. I think this is the way I designed it, but it could go either way. I put bell corners on all 4 corners. I made a snowflake down here. I used the small corners and straight line borders surrounding the blue. I don't think I told you what size the blue was, did I? 2 1/2 by 3 3/4. So, our final card is a European A6. I have cut my paneling to be 3 7/8 by 5 5/8. I layered 2 pieces of velveteen paper. I layered the green velveteen, which is cut to 2 1/2 inches wide by 3 5/8 inches long, with a piece of blue velveteen that's cut about 1/4 of an inch less, 2 1/4 by 3 3/8. I layered those up so I have 2 layers of velveteen paper. That beautiful bouquet, I hung it on the diagonal again and put my season's greetings. And I ran a little chunkier curb link border around the outside of that. That's our 24 cards. Before I let you go, I want to show you one more thing. And run some math for me, would you please? What's 25 divided by 12? That should be 250, right? 25 divided by 12? Yeah. If you get just
208.
208, okay. If you get just the kit and you do 12 cards, you're paying $2.08 a piece for them. If you get the supplement, that's 35 divided by 24. If you get the supplemental kit and you add the 3 sheets of stickers and the 13 European A6 cards, you are going to spend $1.45 per card. So that's pretty amazing. All in. I mean, you just don't have to add really much of anything from your own stash to those. I do have an extremely limited number of these, very, very limited, but they're in our live stream folder on the website. If you get the kit number 5, you can get what we call kit number 6. And this is what's in kit number 6. You can see I actually like the images in kit number 5 a lot better. I have to be honest about that. I don't love all of the images in here. It has a lot of sporting events and food and things that I just don't find as appealing to work on. But, that's the difference in our taste. You might love those. But this also makes 12 cards. It's almost identical in its composition to the kit that you're already getting, except that this is trimmed in gold, and it's $12.50. If you buy this kit, the kit 5, you can turn around and get the kit 6 for $12.50 on the website. So if what was that number you gave me? $1.40. If $1.45 wasn't great enough, turn around to do another set for half price. So that's it. That's what I have for you today. I hope you find this video helpful. There you can just make just a ginormous number of beautiful, beautiful cards from this kit. And I hope you find the video helpful. I will see you soon. And for now, I'm going to say good night, Gracie.